we're back live again. I don't know what happened. Like, I thought I got cut or banned or something because it was right when I was talking about licensing and stuff like that. And then I've been banned for things that I thought there's no way I should have been banned. It's saying there's a problem with my live quality. I've gotten banned for things that I thought there was no way I should have been banned for, and then I've gotten away with things that I thought there's no way I should be talking like this, and they're allowing me for. Like, it's just crazy. I don't know. It just depends. But anyway, back in effect, y'all. It's been all right. The truth is, a lot's been going on recently. So, I was supposed to be in Turkey, out of town, and my grandfather died on my birthday, and his funeral's coming up, so I ended up canceling my flight and had to pay to change my flight ticket, and they charged me out the rear end for that. It was $750 to change my flight ticket, and then I got on with customer service, and I talked to them for like 45 minutes, and I was like, is there anything you can do to help with the discount? Because my grandfather just died, and now I'm having to pay $700, but it is near the holiday season. My birthday was 5 days ago, and so it was near the holiday seasons, and I don't celebrate holidays, but New Year's is cool and Independence Day, but outside of that, I'm really don't practice any of the other stuff. But so I talked to the customer service rep for 45 minutes. I'm like, look, my grandfather died. I have to change my flight. Is there anything you can do? And they were like, yeah. After 45 minutes, they're like, we can charge you $2,500. You'd have to spend the night in the airport over here in some weird place, and then you get to your destination. I was like, I'll just keep the $700 charge, man. Good gosh. And then on top of that, some more funny stuff. I finally got my headlight fixed. It has been a nightmare, and what's funny about it was my deductible on my car was $1,000, and I'm like, that's expensive, So I'm like, screw that. My headlight eventually got water in it, and it had shorted out, and I looked up the price for normal headlights were $900 something. I'm like, that's crazy. So I got one off eBay. And then the mechanic, it took me 3 or 4 trips to the mechanic in order for him to get it correct. Like, he had to he tried to give me a cheap module because I didn't want to spend $300 on a module, and then only 3 out of the 4 lights were working, and I had to drive around with my high beam on at night because when it started getting dark, I didn't want to travel around with one headlight because that's like a red flag, and I don't feel like dealing with policy enforcers. Because my car is registered. I bought it from my mom. It was registered. I would love to get the True Title MCO over a vehicle one day, and I'll work on that. But so after my 4th visit today, $880 in, finally got my headlight fixed, and it's like, dang! At that point, I could have just spent the $1,000, gotten my fender that I nicked fixed, everything. I'd have just rather at that point just spent the extra $100 and gotten a brand new headlight, everything fixed, and the fender and bumper that got scratched up because I barely nicked a column. It was just a whole pain in the butt. So, but anyway, got my headlight. I was dancing because it was like, yeah. All right, so Saint, hey, I responded to a denial letter for credit. Should I get it notarized and send it registered? If you're trying to establish a record, you have unlimited ability to contract. So it's up to you. Through 2 or more witnesses, everything are established. So it's up to you at that point how you want to establish a record. But sending through a notary is an extension of the local Secretary of State, and they can operate in the public and the private. So if you're going to go through them, it is a very powerful record, because they can do notice of protest, they can do certified copies of stuff. They're basically a third party's public record whose duty it is to keep such records. So at that point, it's an exception to the hearsay rule. But you got to understand subject matter jurisdiction. So whenever I use a notary, I always put inside of a box everything that they're doing, right? I always make sure they kind of know me if I want to sign in lowercase or uppercase or however I'm doing it, and kind of brief them a little bit on how the actual real commercial world works, because everybody is basically clueless when it comes to sovereignty and how to establish records and all that stuff. So I basically I always put their seals and signs inside of a box, and then I write on it is basically like, using a notary is for, the rules of evidence, not for giving up subject matter jurisdiction, and on and on and on. And I have some of that information on my website if you ever want to browse around in there. And there's a lot of good information under notary. If you go through my Dropbox of Commerce and check them out, they're actually a very, very powerful entity that and they have to be a U.S. citizen. Like when I got out of jail and I started learning real quick how things worked, I realized that the U.S. I didn't know enough though, because we all start running, instead of crawling. But I got the letters. I got letters saying, are you a U.S. citizen? I'm like, no, heck no, because that's that's an enemy. I knew it was an enemy, but I didn't know it was a corporation. I didn't know that how everything worked on the big picture. It's just a tool that you can use, all this stuff. I thought it was. I was like, I didn't want nothing to do with that freaking tool. So because I clicked that I wasn't a U.S. citizen, they say that you can't vote or become a notary. So I got like all the rights back that a non-citizen could, which was what was the, I don't remember what there was like one thing that they could give me, but if I would have clicked U.S. citizen, I'd have got my right. I've never voted, never will, but got my right to vote back and been able to become a notary for the U.S. citizen. But anyway, all right. So Metatron, phone calls. Are you calling for the man or what? Hold on now. Responding all later. All right. eBay, yeah, eBay always comes in clutch when needed. Yeah, they came through, but the headlight wasn't US dot approved. And if I'd have spent $10 more, the headlight was $232 or something. If I'd have spent $238 or $39, I could have got a US dot approved headlight from Amazon and probably had it quicker. But it's like it's an off-brand from China, who makes almost everything anyway. But all right, Metatron, phone calls. Are you calling for the man or the business? I don't understand what that question is about, buddy. What you talking about, buddy? Yeah, happy belated. Mine was on the 4th. Cool. Heck yeah. Happy birthday to you too. Sorry about that. Or sorry, for not saying it earlier. Belated. Metatron, feeling the true separation lately. Feeling very clean. Heck yeah, that's good, man. Because we're not the corporation. We're not even this natural body. We're above and beyond it all. We are all tied together through the ether and stuff like that. Mimi, thank you for the happy birthday wishes. Mimi, don't they take notify from foreign nations? So you talking about notaries? Is that what you're talking about? I only typically, notary. So using a notary for witnessing a signature is a really good way to establish a public record. It's very enforceable, and you have that third party entity, and then if you use the postal service, you can also use the certification number and put that on your process too, and that's another third party's public record. So at that point, and then if you have the notary certify any responses or non-responses, say all responses must be formed in affidavit form, responded to on a point-by-point basis. Any responses outside of the requested criteria will be considered frivolous, and the notary will be certifying any responses or non-responses. But you can do the same thing with a witness. You don't have to use a notary, but it's just they're like a public entity that is a really good way of establishing records. So thank you for the birthday wishes, much appreciated. I'm an old man now, getting up there. Oh, thanks for the lightning bolt, St. Times 20, much appreciated. How's everybody doing? Metatron, when phone calls been coming in, that's what I ask, man or business. Okay. You know what I like doing? This is one of my favorites back in the day. I haven't gotten a lot of spam calls, but what I used to do is, you know how you get spam calls and they're trying to offer you free vacations and trying to say you won this and all this, that, and other. So what I would always do is I would say, hey, yeah, okay, so, I won something. That's great. Before I give you any of my information, can you identify yourself? I need to know your name. And they'll give it to me and say, okay, now I need to know your social. And they'll be like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I need to know who I'm talking with, And they usually hang up right then. I actually had one cuss and when I asked that. Then if they give you your social, say, cool, what's your bank? Where do you bank? Keep prying into their information just like they're trying to pry into you. So you can hit them back with it. It's just like when you're walking up to 7-Eleven or somebody asks for a quarter, and they're about to ask, say, yo, you got $1? You got a quarter? It's like hit them back right before they hit you. But it depends. You don't have to do that. It just depends if you really want to help them or not. Because some people don't want to work and they're just out there trying to bum money off of people all day long so they can get drugs. So if I'm led to give somebody something, whether it's helping them naturally, spiritually, or commercially, I barely ever am led to help them in that way. But if I am, then I will. But if not, and I know that they're just, they're drunk and they're just they don't want to work, or whatever, they're dodging police. Then they come up to me. I'll be like, "Yo, you got a quarter? You got a cigarette? You got a ride?" Because like that. That's how they be hitting you at some of these gas stations and places. It's funny. Just hit them where it hurts. Hey, CJ. Hey, what is the topic for today? I honestly thought about doing topics, but what I'm doing now is I talk about anything and everything on a one-by-one basis. If somebody has a question, I will help them in depth the best I can, give them lawful guidance, and hope that satisfies them. They can come back with another question or somebody else's question. So I thought about doing topics, but what I do now is I do end up speaking on main things that somebody asks, and then when I post it on YouTube, I'll write what some of the topics were so that when people are browsing through, they can kind of understand, oh, I'm talking about national ID, oh, I'm talking about private banking, oh, I'm talking about spiritual stuff, but I'll just use some of the topics. So encourage more viewers to share. Okay, yeah, share. All right, Saint, thank you for the share of the live. Metatron, right? Mimi, I will use that. Yeah, it's good. Like when they start prying at you, that's what a lot of these pirates are out here doing, is they're trying to get all of your private information. And I just watched a video on Google, which was like, it's just a surveillance tool to gather all this information to try to sell your data. And that's what it's used for mainly, is creating a digital twin of everything that you do, everywhere that you go, so that they can basically survey. I don't know why it says my live quality keeps going in and out. Maybe that's what dropped. And I had never done this before, but on this platform, this gamer type platform, I did a test to lower my quality, or it was like it said my quality settings were too high. So I did basically a test, and it tested my internet speed. I got a gaming computer CPU, so it should be good on like processing. And it basically told me where I need to be, and I said fine. And the next thing I know, it says there seems to be a problem with my live quality, and then it froze up earlier. And I thought for sure I had been banned, but if I was banned, I would not be here right now, because usually I have to appeal if I get banned, but I didn't. So, Saint, thanks for the share of the live. James, luckily I was only talking for like 15 minutes before it froze up, and I don't know if I was able to save it or not. I'll have to check out my folder. I might be able to merge the two videos together. This live will be on YouTube. The audio will be on Telegram. All my links are on my profile page of TikTok on the website. You can check that, all my social media links. So also, I might try to merge my two where it froze up together, which might take a minute, but other than that, then I'll post it on YouTube and try to hit some of the main topics that we were talking about. So, all right. So Jamie, Laura, how do I get the courts out of my divorce and custody case? So, whenever you got the license to get married, you were asking permission from the state to do something illegal. So that's what a license is between two enemies. So when you get married, there's three parties, and I have a video on this. You can watch Getting Married Without the State, but you most likely got married with the state. So when you request from the state to marry y'all, all three of y'all are joined into a matrimony triangle between your spouse, you, and the state, and all three of y'all are in an incorporated love triangle. A marriage license is permission to do two corporate business mergers together between two U.S. citizens or two entities or whatever. So when you do that, you're bound, typically, the citizens are, by the policies, codes, rules, and statutes that you submitted to. You know, that's the game you're playing in, and that's the stuff that we're not taught or how to be well versed in. So you can establish a record between you and your spouse that says we're not married, blah blah blah. You could memorialize that, and then if there's any issues, you know, at the end of the day, you can pull that in. However, Guru, thank you, sweetheart, much appreciated. So at the end of the day, it's all about what you can prove, right? And if you memorialize that and anything happens or whatever, and that's why I suggest some people can marry outside of the state and do your lawful stuff. And then what's cool about the lawful, the substance, is you can bring a lot of that stuff into the public as long as you understand what is admissible as evidence and what the public can see and view. Babes, thanks for the rose, much appreciated. You're funding all my adventures, like. You're my number one supporter, sweetheart. Thank you. All right, so that was the divorce, right? So it's up to you, but typically what I suggest is coming up with agreement between the other party just to bifurcate the divorce or separate, do the public policies, procedures, as long as they're cool with it. If they're not, then you have to do basically a private administrative procedure. But I suggest divorcing the state, handle your own affairs on your own in the private. If you don't want to do that, then you know, you're gonna have to go by their rules. So custody case is a lot different, and it depends on if there's been any evidence against. You got to remember, when you and the other human created another human, y'all have 50-50 duties, obligations, and liabilities to raise that being and that entity. Typically, courts want to tip the needle towards the mother side because they're more kind, loving, caring, patient, you know, and guys usually go out in the field and make the money and do all that stuff and be the breadwinners. But if you've established any record or proof that the spouse is in like bad standing, you can start to tip the needle towards your side. You know, you can always establish records. This is what it's all about. Metatron, yes, citizen is a graven image, 100%. And we're all tricked by that graven image. I don't know if you've read my status declaration example, but I was very, very early in my walk when I started learning that, and I basically said that the graven image was bounding me until I became free and all that. But I was always free, you know. So it's just an interesting read on how I was tying some of my biblical, spiritual understanding with the commercial realm, and just starting to learn my commercial walk. So, but it's yes, it's a graven image, and you shouldn't worship it. No, don't worship commerce. And that's always in the Bible from the beginning to the end. It's always talking about it's warning not worshiping graven images. Thanks, babe. I am a spiritual king. Yes, we all are, Metatron, 100%. And that's the trick behind everything, you know. All right, so R. Leonard. I want to get out of the corporation. Which is better in your opinion, national or state citizen? So R. Leonard, those are both just entities that you can use. It's not you. You're already out of the system. You can use different tools to engage in the public with. It's up to you how you want to engage with the public. A national is typically outside of U.S. jurisdiction. However, it can give up jurisdiction real quick if it starts engaging in stuff like driving or working for profit for Federal Reserve notes or whatever. So you got to be careful what entity you use. You can create your own sovereign trust. You can get being private is very expensive. If you want to be private, I'll tell you how to do it. You've got to gain true title over your property. You've got to gain true title over your car. You have to grow your own food. You have to make your own energy and power. You have to grow your own or get your own water out of the earth, all that stuff. If not, guess what? Either you have to have a corporate entity to interface with the public with, or an agent has to use an entity. So if you use an agent, then you can stay private, and the agent will have to use a corporation to interface with the public with, right? Or a trust or a trustee or something like that. So, but yeah, it's very, very expensive. Very difficult, because if you get the true title to your land, guess what? You can't use public services like water, police, fire department, ambulance, public utilities, stuff like that. What do you mean use an agent? It's basically it's like public banking terminology. Whenever you're operating in the private, you need to use an agent when you're working off a closed bank account to be able to transfer securities or private assets to funnel into the public, because they're authorized to do those kinds of things. So either you or somebody that you authorize to do business out in the public needs to have a public corporation to interface with the public, right? Because unless you've got stacks and stacks of Federal Reserve notes and you don't have to worry about working, you don't have to worry about buying anything, you create everything that you need, you're self-sustaining, you're sovereign, then if you've got to get Federal Reserve notes, how are you going to get them? And what entity is going to get it, right? So at the end of the day, it's all about subject matter jurisdiction and understanding how everything works. So Leonard, what about being an executor of a trust? I suggest watching my last video, okay? I wanted to make one this week, but it's just been crazy busy. I explained it earlier, but you don't want to do the executor unless you're never going to use the U.S. citizen in the public again. But that is one way to go private real quick, is if you've done all your due diligence and you're basically in charge of your own household and you're self-sustaining and sovereign and control title to everything, then basically what you want to do at that point, you can express a will for the trust, put it in probate, be the executor, and then don't do any more public anything, because whatever is legal, because you got to understand the U.S. citizen is bound and controlled by the state. So if you're going to express a will or you're going to do anything, and you say that the entity is dead, and all of a sudden you try to open up new bank accounts or start trying to get health insurance or trying to travel, all this stuff, you will be committing crimes, because you are establishing a record that the entity is dead, even if you get a death certificate for it, and then you're engaging in new contracts. Whenever an entity is dead, the executor, whatever is permissible by law, of course, or legal, not law, you can do, but not that I've never seen when an entity is dead. Usually, the executor is only allowed to wrap up all public affairs, not start all kinds of new contracts. But people aren't very learned, so it just depends on legally what you're trying to allow their property to do at that point. But you could basically be the executor, but you got to be very careful, because if you start establishing those records, you get in trouble. Guys, this live will be on YouTube. The audio will be on Telegram group. All my social media links are attached to my website, which is anointednewfoundationofpeace.life. My website is on my profile page of TikTok. I have playlists to re-educate you. I suggest going through them when you get a chance. It will help a lot. R. Leonard, I did see that one. Okay, that's good. R. Leonard. So be a beneficiary for a trust. Yes, that you can do business however you want. Just know at the end of the day, if you're going to be engaged in for-profit public commerce in a federal zone, there's a tax liability. If you're engaged in not-for-profit, there's very, very little tax liability, if not none. It's up to you how you do business, and then it transpires from there. You can create trusts that are holding companies for LLCs that are doing PMAs. You can set up all kinds of things. That's how these big ballers, these huge elites, that's how they operate out there. They have trusts and foundations that handle everything for them. Those are the agents, the entities that they use to interface with the public, and then they have people to do all their biddings, because you get to control what you create. So if you create a corporation, you're good. You can control it. It's up to you. But you got to understand subject matter jurisdiction. What kind of jurisdiction is it going to be hailing? Because if you don't hail a jurisdiction, it can be up for construement, right? So that's why it's important to put definitions and jurisdiction of whatever trusts or contracts or whatever you're trying to put out there. That way, there's no doubt of what the jurisdiction is. All right, so Jamie, how do I divorce the state first? You're already divorced from the state. You're coming from the position that you are a corporation. You're not a corporation. We are tricked into being the corporation and embodying it and thinking we are. You're already free, sovereign, independent, and I can prove it to you. Who told you which way to get what clothes to put on this morning? Who told you when to brush your teeth? Who told you what to wear? Who told you which direction to go when you hit the floor this morning? Like, you know, it's up to you. You are the unlimited sovereign with the ability to contract however you want, okay? Now, depending on how you want to contract or do business with the state, that's up to you. Saint, I did see your question. I meant to answer it. You can get one-on-one by DMing me, or you can call me, or you can email me. It's all up to you. I have like all kinds of ways that you can reach out to me, for sure. Metatron, I am the spiritual king of my own realm. How to handle the citizens' estate, whatnot. They ask for it? Oh, how to handle the citizens' estate when they ask for it. So it depends on if you, the human, the authorized representative, the spiritual king, whatever, like I say, you can make a declaration that says that. However you want to respond to those kinds of things is up to you, because you're the authorized representative. If there's a liability, but remember, guys, it doesn't matter what the truth is, right? So, for instance, you could have somebody over here that lied and said that you hit them in the head with a baseball bat, okay? And then they go to the courthouse and they start establishing a record. There is now a public record that has been ledgered and lodged that says that there's been damage and all this. It doesn't matter if that's true, all right, at that point. Then you've got the issue of trying to deal with figuring out how to overthrow that record, that public record. And it's first in line when it comes to stuff like that. Like if you did get into a fight with somebody and you were the first one to go to the courthouse and lodge the record, they've got to handle your situation first. Am I buffering? And that kind of sucks, because I tried to go through the system to lower my quality on my live or whatever, do a suggested quality. And it sucks if I'm buffering still. But, you know, it is what it is. Well, I'm going to add that 15 minutes to this 30. And if I got to the bottom, anybody have any questions, I'm here to help. Like I said, I have playlists that can help re-educate. It is starting to get hot up in here. This will be my last live, at least here in Virginia. It's possible that I'll do another live somewhere else, but it's up to y'all. If y'all need any help, I'm here. I set this time aside. Normally I go live a little earlier. It's just been crazy. I was dealing with my car. So if not, you know, I'll be doing some ASMR or dancing for a minute, and then, all right, are public utilities actually prepaid? So using Federal Reserve notes is not a payment system. That is you're basically setting off the debt to be able to pay at a later date, right? So everything is a debt obligation of the United States. So when you take yourself away from the personal liability and understand how everything works, the U.S. is actually the one, and they say it because you're using U.S. Federal Reserve notes. The United States, the Federal Reserve note is a debt obligation of the United States. The United States is a corporation for all public banking transactions. They were created through the Union Pact states to govern commerce between each national state. And then they did some flim-flam with D.C. and false federal jurisdiction zones and all that to blanket everything. But that's the foundation. So that's what's very important. And I was even talking to an attorney. When you're looking at stuff, the attorney was like, it doesn't matter what it used to be, it matters what it is right now. And to an extent on some things, that is correct. But you always want to start with the foundation. Nobody teaches that, nobody professes it, but I am here telling you, when you're studying, start at the foundation. How, you know, do the etymology. Look how something was established, or where it came from, or why it's the way it is, or how it happened. Because when you start to understand the foundation in the beginning, then you can start to build upon it. And if it has a different definition or a different way a little bit or whatever, that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's so very important to understand the foundation of everything. And that's why it's so hard to shake some of my knowledge, is because I break everything down to its simple fundamentals, down to its foundation, and then I build upon it. And that's actually what I'm trying to help lay for y'all. I'm trying to lay these foundations so y'all can build upon them. Nature, spirit, and commerce. And once you start to understand the light and how everything's tied together in love and peace and unity, you'll be unstoppable. You know, you'll be the force on this earth that you were always meant to be. Old times, this information is finally coming out. Financial freedom. It's been there. trust me, the like Skull and Bones, they learn this in day 3. They know how to tap into the private asset side of stuff and how to set off stuff through the DTC and the Secretary or Securities and Exchange Commission, all this stuff. Like they're taught, the big ballers, they're taught this stuff from day 1. It's the way it's always been. But when you do stuff like that, here's the double-edged sword to the way the system is. It is perfect in a sense. Now, a lot of entities and agencies try to step outside their authority all the time. But when you see the big picture, when you see the triangle in the circle, right? The system is harmonious. If everybody knew how the banking system really worked, everything would collapse overnight, right? The economy would collapse. There would be people running out in the street, shooting things, buildings would be on fire. The way the system is established now, I wish everything was not for profit. However, everything is established for profit out there with the public entities that control like all of our media, education, the health and all that crap. When you look at the big picture, the system forces people to be productive in society, right? It forces them to get out of bed. Now, the double-edged sword of that is when somebody gets hurt and they have to keep working out there for a for-profit system that doesn't care about them at the end of the day and will fire them if some board member is just like, I don't need you around, It's like it doesn't matter. But the big picture, it's really kind of harmonious. And if somebody or an agent or steps out of their bounds of authority, because you got to remember, public offices, they swear an oath to uphold the Constitution and certain things for their office. You can call them out on codes, policies, procedures, and go after them if they harm you, if you understand how everything works. But you got to do a lot of effort and research, and nobody really wants to do that stuff. I am buffering? Dang, I don't know what's going on today. It's weird. I almost didn't go live. I was debating on it, but I was like, you know what? I don't know when I'll go live again. Let's just do it. All right, so, you're from Virginia, Hopewell? Cool. Jamie, yes, please. This information is finally coming out. Please give me a lead to start at. I suggest watching the playlist on my profile, and then I have a website with all kinds of free information. You can browse around on that, and if it's, if you have questions after that, you can DM me, you can email me, you can call me, whatever. What is the foundation? Where do I start? I have 3 foundations that I'm laying: nature, spirit, and commerce. There are playlists on my profile that can help you if you want to go on there and click on them and watch them. Mavis, Metatron. Have a good weekend. All right, buddy. See ya. Peace out. Now you're buffering. Sorry. User 673955608. How does a 1099-C from a collector affect me? They're canceling. A collector is canceling a debt. Why would a collector be canceling a debt from you? That's good. If you have a debt obligation and they send you a 1099-C, that should be good, because that means the debt doesn't. They're canceling it. That's what a 1099-C is. I don't think there's anything else you can do with a 1099-C that I'm aware of. I'm not super learning every single form, but old time news. My sister was looking into this in 2015. There was little to no information at the time. So, old time. The technology back then was convoluted, and a lot of the elites were putting out little bits of truth, but spattering it with all kinds of misinformation. And that's where your accepted for value, return from value came from. That's where your secured party creditor process came from. And a lot of it has a little bit of truth, and it sounds good, but it's all mixed up with misinformation, and people run with it, like being an executor over the estate and stuff like that. So the knowledge has been there for a long time. It's just semi-privately, because all this information is public knowledge if you do all the research and take your time and sit there and study banking manuals and IMF, CFRs, UCC, all this stuff. It takes a while, but it's all been there, but nobody has taken all the time. It took me 10 years to learn what some of these elites teach in day 3, 4, and that's part of the problem. Is it takes a lot of effort, and the way everything's established with the indoctrination is we're not taught how corporations work or how banking or how taxes or none of that stuff, and then we're being fed all this stuff constantly where you have to buy this to be happy, you have to do this to be happy, and it becomes a very cumbersome thing. And then we're working for a for-profit system in a federal zone where they take 30% of everything that we create, and they fleece us, and that's how the system is set up. It's all like a Ponzi scheme, and it's hard to get out of that, and they know that. That's why they give you 1 or 2 days just so you don't work yourself to death by Friday, once you start getting a certain age, a lot of us don't want to go out and party. I keep hitting the freaking table. Then they know that it's very weary and tiresome and burdensome to be working in this for-profit system where you barely have enough to survive on the plantation, but that's how it all works. All right, so where are we at? Thanks for the follow, Metatron. How to direct a collector to the Citizens Trust account? I wouldn't direct a collector to the Citizens Trust account because a collector doesn't have access to it. Only certain people do, like the Treasury or the DTC, or you can do or you can create your own law. I wouldn't try to send giving them Federal Reserve notes is access to the Treasury. That's a debt obligation of the United States. You could just let the U.S. handle it. It's not buffering. Cool. When I listen to this live, I hope it doesn't buffer a lot, but I did freeze up earlier, so I know it's something's going on. Mavis, I want to do the effort. Give me the path and where to start. All right, Mavis, watch the playlist on my profile, take notes, and then circle back. If you want more information, I have on my website, and then from there we can talk. Wait, you aren't going live? What? Why aren't you going? Oh, I'll be out of town, but I might go live out of town, but I'll probably be roaming. So I don't know. Unless I get on the internet or something. Leonard, I want to learn to say awesome. Yeah, I'm here to help. Yeah, those are old time news. Those are secrets for what corporations are bound by. All the codes, all the public policies and statutes. That's what it's good to know. All of those codes are for. It's not for us, not the humans. It's what corporations are bound by. I think somebody posted my website. Thanks, Metatron. Mavis, think you will do. Yep. All right. Just Steve. FDRs or U.S. obligations, but it's nearly impossible to eat and get food without earning their paper. Yes, and that is actually why the colonies revolted, is because the king started taxing them on every piece of paper that they were using, and I think that's the Stamp Act. I think it was a Stamp Act. The Kings did a Stamp Act and said you had to use my paper and you have to use my currency to pay me in. And that's when the colonists were like, screw you, homeboy. Like, I'm done with this jazz. And that's when they revolted. But they were sincerely in debt because the king paid for everything. And you can't secede from a nation state while owing in debt as an indentured servant, because they were all indentured to established colonies and the king paid for everything. So imagine paying, if you put yourself in the king's shoes, he paid for everything, and then they were just like, screw you, homie, I'm out of here, and we're not paying. And then that's why the war started. And then at the end of the day, the Paris Peace Treaty, that's when the war really ended, and the king retained the position of arch-treasurer and prince-elector because they still owed debt obligations. So the king was basically like, all right, all you people that are fighting to be free, I will let you be free, but y'all have to continue to collect taxes and monies due from the people that still want to owe allegiance to me because of all the debt obligations that were still owed. He's like, I'll let y'all be free and y'all can do blah, 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 but whatever. So that's how the tax system was maintained here. And so the free and sovereign and independent people that wanted freedom from the king didn't have to pay taxes, but the people that still wanted to owe allegiance did. All right, Mavis, the ditch creditor's bank wants to discharge all debts of the person because of the tax authority. I don't really understand that, Mavis. I'm sorry. The ditch creditor's bank wants to discharge all debts of the person because of the tax authority. I'm sorry. But if they committed fraud and damaged the person whose debts do not exist, or do they? So if the U.S. citizen is engaged, and that's where we all get tripped up, because contracts are enforceable. And if the U.S. citizen signed up for services or providing, it's just like how a bank can come take your house, is because they define you as a debtor, even though your signature created the asset on the books that they monetize, right, in the private, and then they turn around and give you both sides of the ledger, right? They keep hold all their Texas Hold'em cards close to their chest on the asset side that they created off of your signature. And then what they do is they show you the public liability side off of the T-chart, because if anybody's done accounting, you'll know double entry bookkeeping. They turn around and say, hey, now there's a liability, and then they make the U.S. citizen pay as the debtor, when really the U.S. citizen was the original issuer on the account that created the funds, But Congress authorized bank agents to monetize. And that's why I try to tell everybody, don't sit there and try to do, even though every U.S. citizen is a bank, the human, we, the trustees, the authorized representative, aren't authorized to do certain banking things, right? Banks are. Banks can monetize the authorized representative signature of the U.S. citizen to create an asset. But then they turn around and make the citizen a debtor, and we accept that, and they can enforce it. My web address is anointednewfoundationofpeace.life. Old times. To everybody who wants to know where to start, buy the 3 books of common law. Yeah, those I think I've read those. Those are pretty good. Common law is how we all wake up, but I also suggest learning about equity, because at the end of the day, equity trumps everything. Equity is the spirit of the law. The law is nothing without equity. So study chancery, and I actually have a list of books that are on my Telegram group that are posted if anybody wants to look at the books. But at the end of the day, you can spend the rest of your life learning public policies, codes, and statutes, or you can understand equity and you can create your own law and you can bring that in, and that trumps everything. So it's just, it's up to you what you do with your life and your energy. All right, I'm going tax exempt and not doing taxes. Is this enough to not pay taxes? No, it sounds like you're listening to Bree Divine. What you want to do is not engage in for-profit in a federal zone. If you're going to engage in for-profit in a federal zone, there's going to be a tax liability for the U.S. citizen. And this is how it works. We're the authorized representative of the U.S. citizen. It is just a tool that you can use. Now, at the end of the day, it depends on how you do business is what happens. Now, if you are engaging your U.S. citizen in a for-profit zone, or for-profit in a federal zone, there's a tax liability the citizen has to pay. It's the cost of doing business. If you're going to mess with somebody else's board game, you got to learn the rules. If you're going to be engaged in not-for-profit, there's very little, if none, no tax due. That's why you want to gift, barter, trade, exchange, and borrow and all that stuff. Old news, name of the books. Thanks for the post of the website again. One Honey BH. FOIA request citizenship status for additional evidence. Maybe no. Some of that stuff is. It's just, it's just a lot of effort when you don't have to use the U.S. citizen. It's up to you. Or you can create your own trust. You can create a sovereign trust. You can create a LLC, a holding company, a foundation, a PMA. You can association. You can do all kinds of things. I never signed up nor gave signature. They gave child tax care allowance and then turned around and say the person committed fraud. So they have control over the U.S. citizen, and if you give jurisdiction up in a court case, they will administer all kinds of things for you. You can always call them on fraud of that, but at the end of the day, if you were represented by an attorney, then you're duct tape. You have to start a whole new providence procedure on it. Is it true we can get a free house or car a year from the IRS? I've never heard that. I've never heard the IRS paying that. And if the IRS owes the U.S. citizen, $10 million or $1 million, yeah, you can get a free house every year. Equity is ether. Yes, Mr. Ratio, 100%. Drippy's Organics. Could you send an intent to purchase and send instructions to still contract with the bank? So it's at the end of the day, it's all about offer and acceptance. And we're not taught how it really works, but whenever you sign up for a promissory note, the CFO signs the back, and it's the private side, and he's the one that is actually responsible for the debt obligation on the private side. Then they turn around and try to say that we owe on the public side on the liability. But the asset is still there. So really the CFO is the one that's responsible. Now, when you're trying to do a different type of contract as far as an intent to purchase, that is not a purchase. That's just like you intend to purchase or a promise to purchase. That's like a promissory note, and we're not authorized to monetize signatures on promissory notes. Banks are. So if you're just doing intent to purchase, that's like I'm almost going to contract with you. Well, contracts are enforceable, but at the end of the day, if you can prove that there's a debt obligation and try to do subrogation on that to somebody else, then then you're good. But it's up to you how you want to contract. First step is getting your long form birth certificate. Old time news. I suggest watching the playlist on my profile. Unless you're going through the DTC or trying to move out of the country, you're just going to end up having a really cool record for somebody else or for the U.S. citizen. Jippy's Organics or whatever company you're doing business with. So yes, you have the unlimited ability to contract however you want. It's all about what you can prove, what you can enforce, and how you do business. It's at the end of the day, it's up to you. You can contract however you want. You can give up liability or rights all day long by contracting. By contracting, you know what contract means? It means to bring together, right? Now, when you contract with someone else, it's like two sovereign. We're all sovereign, and then we're the representatives for our entities that are contracting. And when you contract, you're bringing them together. You're boxing in sovereignty into to guidelines, rails of enforcement, and it's up to you how you do that. Exactly what you just said about knowing the rules. Yep, you got to know the rules about the games you're playing in. Mavis, they never allowed remedy nor attorney for 10 years? Goodness gracious. They don't have to allow the U.S. citizen remedy because the citizen is an enemy. And whenever you're in front during times of war, enemies don't have constitutional rights. They don't have all this stuff is public records. I have playlists on my profile. I actually have a class on emergency war powers that you can watch if you go through my website under Commerce Class Neo Emergency War Powers. And it'll teach you how we've been in a perpetual state of emergency since at least 1933. People don't want to be a citizen of the United States. No, I mean, people can't be. Humans can't be. The citizen is a person. It's a corporation. It's up to you how you do business. Mavis, I sent over 500 presentments registered mail and none were rebutted. Cool, then you have a pretty good record that you can stand on if you ever go in front of court or they try to enforce something. Depending on what you've established. You can establish records all day long, but if they're garbage or you can't enforce it, it doesn't matter. You just wasted all your time, effort, and money on establishing a record that you can't even bring home. And that's what's important about understanding how to embody the sovereignty and get remedy for things. Justice Lawrence Daly. Does the Minnesota assumed name provide protection? So the Minnesota rule is about real estate. Minnesota Rule 210 or 220, whatever it is. That is only for real estate about a deed. And I actually tried to use that because that's part of the misinformation that's fed out there in the public. I need to write this stuff down too. Minnesota rule, and there was something else that we talked about earlier. But old time people need to know that you can change the terms and conditions. Yes, I teach that. I preach that all day long. That you can embody and bring your own law in and change the terms and conditions by bringing or writing the terms and conditions however you want and getting them in a private administrative procedure. Mavis, after 10 years, they admitted to have discriminated and the government fell. Wow, that's crazy. That sounds like a wild situation you're going through. Maybe we can DM. My bad on using the word person. Oh, I thought you said people. You said people earlier, not person. Mavis, I have sent all parties notice of default, notice of liability. Okay. I mean, then now you can take them to small claim court or big claim court or do a warrant in debt or however you want to do it and bring it home. All right, guys, I'm at the end, and I hope you enjoy your Friday. I've been on here for an hour, and it's really hot, and I've got to do some editing before I can post this because something glitched out earlier. If it's even saved. I don't know if the last part was saved. Yes, a person is a corporation. It's an individual. It's a trust. It's all that stuff. So, all right, guys, enjoy your Friday. I don't know when I'll go live again. I'll probably be out of the country, and I'll try to figure out how to do all that stuff. I appreciate you. Check out my videos. This live will be on my YouTube. Check it out. All my playlists are on my profile to help re-educate you, Foundation Nature, Spirit, and Commerce. I have free unlimited access to my website, all the stuff that I studied to get where I'm at. And it's Anointed New Foundation of Peace.life, and it's linked on my profile page of TikTok. If you go on the website, you'll also see all my other social media links. So I appreciate everybody, and I hope you enjoy your weekend, and peace, love, and everything. All right, guys, bye.